The star was dying. That much was clear to every sensor aboard the Coalition flagship Veil Dominion. The red giant had swollen beyond prediction, its surface tearing itself apart in slow, violent waves. Radiation storms lashed the empty system. Gravity wells twisted space into unstable spirals. And yet, someone had chosen this place. A small structure drifted at the edge of the system, half hidden behind the star's radiation glare. It was old, crude, barely powered. The kind of outpost no modern species would bother to claim. A human outpost. High Commander Zyron stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the projection. His mandibles clicked in mild irritation. "Confirm again," he said. The sensor officer did not look up. "Confirmed. Artificial structure. Human origin. No active defenses. Minimal power draw." A low ripple of amusement passed through the command deck. "Humans," another officer scoffed. "I thought they were a myth. Or extinct." "Neither," Zyron replied. "They were irrelevant." That was the official word. Irrelevant. Centuries ago, humans had appeared on the edge of galactic space. Loud, curious, dangerous in small, unpredictable ways. They fought wars that made no sense. They sacrificed ships to save civilians. They refused to surrender even when logic demanded it. And then they vanished. No great war. No final battle. Just silence. Their worlds were abandoned. Their trade routes went dark. Their name faded from records, downgraded to a historical footnote. Now, somehow, one of their relics still drifted here. "Transmit the standard ultimatum," Zyron said. "Then we finish our sweep and move on." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, there is no response channel active." Zyron frowned. "Then they are dead. Fire a warning shot and be done with it." A single energy lance streaked through space and struck the outpost's outer shell. Metal vaporized. Debris scattered. The structure did not respond. Silence returned to the bridge. "See," Zyron said. "Nothing." Then the lights flickered. Every console on the bridge dimmed for half a second. Long enough for trained officers to notice. Too short for comfort. "Report," Zyron snapped. "Power fluctuation across multiple ships," an officer said. "Cause unknown." Before anyone could respond, a new alert screamed across every display. "Unauthorized signal detected." "That's impossible," the sensor officer said. There was nothing broadcasting. The signal did not come from the outpost. It came from nowhere. Space itself seemed to ripple, as if reality had inhaled. A distortion spread outward, invisible but undeniable. Long-range sensors failed. Short-range sensors returned contradictory data. Distance stopped making sense. "What kind of signal is this?" Zyron demanded. The officer's voice was tight. "It's structured. Not a distress call. Not a greeting. A pause. It's a countdown." The bridge fell silent. Numbers appeared on the main display, burning white against the darkness. 1 minute and 30 seconds, 1 minute and 29 seconds, 1 minute and 28 seconds. "Who is broadcasting?" Zyron said. "No known source," the officer replied. "It's not using conventional transmission. It's embedded in the distortion itself." Another officer spoke, fear creeping into their tone. "Commander, the outpost is powering up." Zyron turned sharply. The human structure, moments ago barely alive, now glowed faintly. Lines of energy traced ancient symbols across its surface. Not decorative. Functional. "What is it doing?" Zyron asked. "I don't know," the officer said. "It's not a weapon. It's not a shield." The distortion intensified. Space behind the outpost darkened, not like shadow, but like absence. Light bent toward it and vanished. Stars warped and stretched, pulled into a growing void. 58 seconds, 57 seconds. A junior officer whispered, "That isn't empty space." "No," the sensor chief said slowly. "It's a structure. Massive, hidden outside normal dimensions." Zyron's mandibles trembled. "Impossible. No one builds something like that." The countdown continued. Ships across the Coalition fleet began reporting errors. Navigation drift. Target locks failing. Artificial gravity stuttering. "Commander," an officer said, "we're losing spatial stability. Recommend withdrawal." Zyron hesitated. Retreat was unthinkable. They outnumbered this relic fleet thousands to one. Whatever this was, it was old. Humans. Obsolete. And yet, "What does the signal say?" he asked. The communications officer swallowed. "It just updated." A text layer decoded itself. The words appeared on the display, simple and stark. Shadow Gate synchronization in progress. A chill ran through the bridge. Shadow Gate. Zyron repeated. Search the archives. The officer's fingers flew across the console. No matches in modern records. Only restricted fragments. Read them. The officer hesitated. They're marked as unreliable myths. Read them anyway. A pause. Human deep space contingency systems. Classified as theoretical. Purpose unknown. Risk level extreme. The void behind the outpost expanded. Something moved inside it. Not fast. Not aggressive. Patient. 22 seconds, 21 seconds. Commander, the sensor chief said, voice barely steady. Multiple mass signatures forming. Large ones. How many? Zyron demanded. The officer stared at the data, disbelief plain on his face. I can't count them all. They're stacked. Layered. Held in suspension. The void flared. For the first time, a signal returned from within it. A single transmission. Clear. Humans. This is a legacy activation. If you are hearing this, you were never meant to. Zyron felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Weapons officers shouted as targeting systems failed entirely. Engines struggled against forces they could not measure. What do they want? Someone cried. The transmission continued, calm and unhurried. Humanity did not disappear. Humanity prepared. 2 seconds, 1 second. The void split open, and something enormous began to emerge. Midnight. The void did not explode outward. It unfolded. Space peeled back like a wound reopening, silent and controlled. The Shadow Gate did not rush. It did not roar. It widened with deliberate precision, as if whatever lay beyond had all the time in the universe. High Commander Zyron could not move. He could only watch. Mass signatures poured into existence. Clean, sharp readings with no thermal bloom. No engine flare. No waste heat. Every rule of space combat said that was impossible. Visual confirmation, Zyron ordered, forcing his voice steady. The main display shifted. Shapes emerged from the dark. They were ships, but not like any the Coalition had ever built. No decorative curves. No glowing insignias. Their hulls were angular, scarred, layered in thick armor that looked repaired and rebuilt many times over. These vessels were not designed to impress. They were designed to survive. One by one, they slid out of the Shadow Gate, aligning themselves with perfect spacing. Hundreds became thousands. Then more. They formed ranks without signals, without commands the Coalition could detect. Commander, the sensor chief said, these ships are not registering as new arrivals. Zyron turned sharply. Explain. They were already here, the officer said quietly, held in suspension inside the structure. Waiting. Waiting. The word echoed across the bridge. Where are their engines? A weapons officer asked. I see no active propulsion. They're not accelerating, the sensor chief replied. They're repositioning space around themselves. Zyron's mandibles clicked in disbelief. That level of control would require a civilization far beyond current galactic standards, the officer finished. Silence followed. Then panic began to spread through the fleet. Across encrypted channels, captains shouted conflicting orders. Navigation systems refused to lock coordinates. Long-range communications bled static. Short-range pings bounced back warped and delayed. This is impossible, Zyron said again, but the word had lost meaning. A new alert pulsed on the display. Human fleet designation confirmed status. Active. Active, Zyron whispered. After centuries? The communications officer spoke up. Commander, there are archived council proceedings from the era of first human contact. They were buried. Restricted. Bring them up, Zyron snapped. The hologram shifted. Old recordings appeared, grainy, incomplete. Alien figures sat in a chamber far less advanced than the one Zyron now commanded. A counselor's voice echoed from the past. Humans are adaptable beyond prediction. Another voice followed. They escalate faster than any known species. Then a third, colder tone. They do not fight to win battles. They fight to end wars. The recording jumped. We cannot defeat them in open conflict without unacceptable loss. The image flickered again. Then we erase them from relevance. A voice said. Quarantine their systems. Suppress their technology. Let time finish what war cannot. Zyron felt a slow, sinking realization. They didn't vanish, he murmured. We made them disappear. Yes, the sensor chief said. And they let us. A tremor passed through the fleet, not from weapons fire, but from fear. A shared understanding rippled outward. Humanity had not been weak. Humanity has been patient. The Shadow Gate pulsed once more. A single human ship moved forward, separating from the formation. It was larger than the others, its hull marked with deep grooves and sealed scars. This vessel had seen combat. Heavy combat. A transmission opened automatically across all Coalition channels. No encryption. No distortion. A human voice spoke. Calm. Even. Tired. This is a boundary activation, it said. You are inside a restricted human contingency zone. Zyron stepped closer to the console. Identify yourself. There was a pause. Not from delay, but consideration. This fleet does not identify, the voice replied. It exists. By what authority do you threaten a coalition force? Zyron demanded. The human voice did not rise. By survival. Another pause. You believed humanity was gone. That belief kept you safe. Weapons officers shouted suddenly. Commander, weapon systems are being scanned. No, mapped. Zyron spun. Countermeasures. They're not attacking, the officer said, confused. They're learning. Across the human fleet, ships adjusted position slightly. Coalition targeting data flickered as firing solutions became useless the moment they formed. They know every weapon we have, the sensor chief said. Every range. Every weakness. How? Zyron asked. The human voice answered, as if listening. You taught us, it said. By trying to forget us. The human ship advanced another fraction. We monitored you from beyond your sight. We watched your wars, your politics, your arrogance. A cold realization settled over the bridge. All this time, Zyron said slowly, you were watching. Yes. Why reveal yourselves now, he asked. The answer came without hesitation. Because the galaxy is about to fail. A new alert flashed, this one from long-range sensors finally breaking through the distortion. Unknown extragalactic mass vector. Inbound time to contact. Undetermined. Zyron stared at the data. That's impossible, he said. There's nothing beyond the rim capable of. You are wrong, the human voice said. You always were. The Shadow Gate shimmered behind the fleet, its energy spiking. This activation was not a threat, the voice continued. It was a warning. Warning of what? Zyron asked. The human ship stopped advancing. Of what comes when civilizations grow comfortable, the voice said. When they trade vigilance for pride. Silence fell again. Then the human fleet moved. Not forward. Sideways. They repositioned between the coalition ships and the empty void beyond the system, forming a barrier. A shield. Weapons officers stared in disbelief. They're protecting us, one whispered. Zyron felt his certainty fracture. What do you want from us, he asked. The answer came, heavy with meaning. Nothing, the human voice said. We already paid the cost. The Shadow Gate dimmed slightly, stabilizing. This is your last chance, the voice concluded. Stand down. Observe. Learn. And if we refuse? Zyron asked. The human ship powered its weapons for the first time. Not fully. Just enough. Then you will learn faster than you survive. The transmission cut. The human fleet held position, silent and immovable. Beyond them, in the dark between galaxies, something vast shifted. And for the first time in recorded history, the coalition understood the truth. Humanity had never been erased. Humanity had been standing guard. The human fleet did not fire. That was the most terrifying part. Across the coalition armada, thousands of weapons remained powered, charged, and ready. Targeting arrays tracked the black shapes ahead. Command crews waited for the inevitable opening volley that would justify retaliation. It never came. The human ships floated in absolute stillness, perfectly aligned, their hulls absorbing starlight without reflection. No engine flare. No signal traffic. No visible command structure. They did not posture. They did not threaten. They waited. High Commander Zyron felt the pressure build on the bridge like a tightening vice. Silence in war was never neutral. Silence was controlled. Any change? He asked. The sensor chief shook their head slowly. No active emissions. No power spikes. But they're not idle. Explain. They're running calculations. Massive ones. Predictive models. They're simulating us. Zyron's mandibles tightened. How detailed? The officer hesitated. Commander, they're predicting our decisions before we make them. As if summoned by the words, a coalition cruiser on the outer flank suddenly lost power. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just quiet. It drifted helplessly, systems dark. Cause? Zyron demanded. No weapons fire detected. The weapons officer said, alarmed. No impact. No radiation. Then another ship went dark. And another. Panic spread. They're disabling us without firing, someone shouted. Zyron slammed a claw against the command rail. All ships, maintain formation. Do not. Before he could finish, a dozen more vessels fell silent. Their crews trapped inside metal shells drifting through a warped gravity field they could no longer control. They're targeting command and control nodes, the sensor chief said. Selective. Surgical. Zyron felt a cold realization crawl up his spine. This isn't an attack, he said quietly. It's a demonstration. As if to confirm his thought, the human transmission returned. We are not here to conquer, the calm voice said. We are here to stop momentum. Momentum? Zyron snapped. You cripple a fleet and call it restraint. Yes. A pause. Because this fleet is not your enemy. Zyron stared at the projection of the human ship, the scarred flagship at the center of the formation. Then who is, he asked. The answer did not come immediately. Instead, the shadow gate pulsed again. Not brighter, deeper. Space folded inward, revealing layers beneath reality. For a brief moment, the coalition sensors caught something beyond the void. Movement. Not ships. Something else. The sensor chief's voice trembled. Commander, I am detecting mass shadows beyond the galactic rim. They're not entering normal space. How many? Zyron asked. I don't know. They overlap. Like layers of hunger. The words settled heavily on the bridge. The human voice returned, lower now. Heavier. That is what hunts civilizations, it said. It does not rush. It waits until resistance becomes inefficient. Zyron swallowed. You faced it before. Yes. And survived. No, the voice said. We adapted. Across the human fleet, something changed. Hull plates shifted. Sections of armor unfolded. Weapon systems emerged. Not glowing, not dramatic, but immense. Dense arrays built for endurance, not spectacle. These are not fleet weapons, the weapons officer whispered. They're siege systems. They were never meant for you. The human voice said, as if hearing the comment. Your wars end. This one does not. Zyron felt the weight of centuries of arrogance pressed down on him. You had all this, he said. You let us believe you were gone. Yes. Why? He demanded. The answer came slowly. Because when civilizations know they are protected, the voice said, they stop protecting themselves. The words struck deeper than any weapon. Around the fleet, disabled coalition ships suddenly flickered back to life. Power restored. Navigation returned. Crews gasped as systems rebooted. Zyron's eyes widened. You could have left them dead. We chose not to, the voice replied. Why spare us? Zyron asked. Another pause. Because you are still capable of learning. The human flagship drifted closer, still not aggressive, but undeniable now. Massive. Ancient. Purpose-built. This is the part you were never meant to see, the voice continued. The part we hoped you would not force. Then why activate the shadow gate at all? Zyron asked. The answer came sharp. Because you fired first. Zyron flinched. You struck a contingency beacon, the voice said. A system designed to wake us only if the galaxy repeated its oldest mistake. What mistake? Zyron whispered. The void beyond the fleet rippled again. This time, the distortion did not fade. It grew. Sensor alarms screamed across the bridge. Commander, the extragalactic mass is accelerating. How fast? Zyron demanded. Faster than causality. The sensor chief replied, horror clear in their voice. It's bending approach vectors. It's choosing us. The human fleet moved as one. Not forward. Not back. They expanded outward, spreading into a vast lattice that wrapped around the coalition armada. Human ships positioned themselves between the incoming darkness and every major population corridor. They're forming a containment line, the weapons officer said. Yes, the human voice confirmed. And you are inside it. Zyron stared at the tactical map. You're using us as bait, he said. No, the voice corrected. We are using ourselves as a wall. The realization hit like a physical blow. You expect to lose ships, Zyron said. Yes. You expect to lose worlds. Yes. Why? He demanded. The answer came, simple and devastating. Because someone must. A tremor passed through the bridge, not from external force, but from understanding. Humanity had not vanished. Humanity has chosen to become invisible guardians. Silent sentinels. A species that built its greatest weapons not to rule, but to endure what others could not. This is not your war, the human voice said gently. But it will reach you. Zyron looked out at the vast human fleet, black against the dying star. What do you need from us? He asked quietly. The answer came without hesitation. Do not get in the way. The transmission ended. The human ships powered their engines for the first time. Space itself bent around them. Beyond the system, the darkness shifted closer, and the galaxy took its first step into a war it had never prepared for. The human fleet moved, not forward in charge, not backward in retreat. They moved sideways through reality. Space twisted around their hulls, folding like fabric pulled through unseen hands. Coalition sensors screamed as coordinates lost meaning. Distance collapsed. Angles lied. Commander, the navigation officer shouted. Relative positions are unstable. Our maps no longer agree with each other. High Commander Zyron gripped the command rail. Stabilize. Use inertial reference points. We are. The officer replied, panic rising. They're changing the reference points. On the tactical display, the human lattice expanded and reshaped itself in real time. Ships slid into new positions without visible acceleration. Entire formations reoriented as if gravity itself had been edited. They're not moving through space, the sensor chief said slowly. They're moving space around themselves. A coalition captain broke formation despite orders, engines flaring as they tried to escape the distortion field. The ship vanished. Not destroyed. Not exploded. Gone. Track it. Zyron barked. I can't, the sensor chief replied. There's no debris. No energy spike. It's as if the ship never existed. Silence fell over the bridge. The human voice returned, not triumphant, not threatening, matter of fact. That vessel has been displaced, it said. Its crew will survive. They will return in approximately 9 hours, 17 minutes. Zyron stared at the display. You can remove ships from the battlefield? Yes. Why not destroy them? Zyron demanded. Because destruction teaches fear, the voice replied. Absence teaches caution. As if to demonstrate, another coalition ship fired. The weapons officer screamed. Unauthorized discharge. A volley of energy lances tore through space toward the nearest human cruiser. They missed. Not because the human ship dodged, but because the shots arrived at where the ship used to be. Space folded a fraction of a second after the weapons fired, redirecting the lances harmlessly into empty vacuum. The human fleet did not respond. Instead, the firing ship's systems went dark. Power died. Gravity failed. The vessel drifted, helpless, its crew alive but trapped. They're punishing aggression without escalation, the weapons officer whispered. Zyron felt something cold settle in his chest. This is doctrine, he said. A refined one. Yes, the sensor chief agreed. Built over a very long time. Across the fleet, panic threatened to become chaos. Captains demanded permission to fire. Others begged to retreat. Some froze entirely. Zyron opened a fleet-wide channel. All units, hold position, he ordered. Any unauthorized action will be treated as hostile by both sides. The channel filled with shocked silence. You'd side with them? A captain demanded. Zyron closed his eyes briefly. I would side with survival, he said. The human fleet adjusted again. Ships along the outer perimeter reconfigured, armor plates shifting, weapon systems extending, not toward the coalition, but outward, toward the void beyond the system. The darkness there thickened. Sensors finally pierced the distortion long enough to glimpse it. What they saw made seasoned officers recoil. It was not a fleet. It was not a creature. It was a process. A moving region of collapsed probability, where stars dimmed and mass readings spiked and vanished at random. Space around it looked eaten, chewed down to raw physics. It's consuming potential, the sensor chief said, voice shaking. It doesn't matter. Not energy. Possibility. Explain, Zyron demanded. I don't fully understand, the officer admitted. It's erasing outcomes. collapsing futures until only one remains. The human voice returned, heavier now. It is called many things, it said. None of them matter. It does not think like you. It does not hate. It simply reduces. Reduces what? Zyron asked. Complexity, the voice replied. Civilizations are complex. Therefore, civilizations are targets. A ripple of dread spread through the bridge. Why hasn't it come before? Zyron asked. It has, the human voice said. You survived because others stood in front of you. Zyron understood. You were one of them, he said. Yes. The human fleet surged, not in attack, but in preparation. Massive structures unfolded from their hulls, each one dwarfing coalition warships. Dense arrays locked into position, anchoring themselves to warped space-time. These aren't weapons, the weapons officer said. They're anchors. Yes, the human voice confirmed. Containment anchors. They give us time. Time for what? Zyron asked. For the cost, the voice replied. The darkness accelerated. Coalition sensors howled as reality ahead of the fleet began to fail. Stars stretched into lines. Radiation spiked, then vanished entirely. The laws of physics frayed at the edges. Commander, the sensor chief shouted. The entity is interacting with the containment line. The human fleet opened fire. Not with light. Not with energy. With absence. Sections of space simply stopped existing. Controlled voids tore chunks out of the approaching darkness, slowing it, shaping it, forcing it to flow around the human formations. Human ships closest to the front began to fail. One by one, they vanished into controlled implosions, deliberate, precise, each loss calculated to buy seconds. Minutes. Zyron watched in stunned silence. They're sacrificing themselves, he said. Yes, the human voice replied. As planned. You plan to lose ships? Zyron demanded. We plan to lose people, the voice said softly. Ships are easier. Coalition officers stared as human vessels died without retreat, without panic, without breaking formation. They don't even try to pull back, someone whispered. Because pulling back shifts the line, the sensor chief said. And the line must hold. The darkness pressed harder. The containment anchors strained, glowing with impossible energies. Space screamed. A human ship at the center of the line broke apart, its hull peeling away into nothing. Another followed. Then another. The human fleet tightened, closing gaps, absorbing losses like a living organism closing wounds. How long can they hold? Zyron asked. The human voice did not answer immediately. Then, long enough. For what? Zyron pressed. For you to decide, the voice said. Zyron stared at the tactical map. Human ships were dying to protect a galaxy that had erased them. What do you want us to do? He asked quietly. The answer came firmly. Prepare, the human voice said. Because when this line breaks, you will finally be visible to it. A sudden surge rippled through the darkness. Containment anchors flared red. Commander, the sensor chief screamed. The entity is adapting. Human ships detonated in rapid succession, buying moments with their lives. The shadow gate behind the fleet began to glow brighter than before. What is that? Zyron demanded. The human voice answered, strained for the first time. That, it said, is our last option. The shadow gate's energy climbed past safe limits. And the countdown began again. The shadow gate screamed. Not with sound, but with pressure. Space around it warped violently, folding inward as if reality itself was struggling to contain what was about to happen. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable limits, then vanished entirely, replaced by values that had no known units. High Commander Zyron felt the deck tremble beneath his feet. Commander, the sensor chief shouted. The gate is destabilizing. If it collapses, it won't, the human voice said, strained but steady. It cannot. Zyron turned sharply toward the projection of the human flagship. For the first time, the calm certainty in the voice carried weight. Exhaustion. You sound tired, Zyron said. Yes, the voice replied. We have been awake for a long time. Another human ship vanished at the front line, torn apart as the darkness pushed harder. The containment lattice flexed, rebalancing instantly, sealing the breach left behind. They're dying faster, the weapons officer whispered. Yes, the human voice agreed. Because it has recognized us. Zyron's mandibles tightened. Then why escalate the gate? Why risk everything now? Because concealment no longer works, the voice said. and because the galaxy deserves the truth before it ends. A new data stream opened across Coalition displays without request or permission. Not tactical data, not targeting feeds. Archives. Human archives. Zyron stared as images filled the screen. Worlds burning, cities collapsing under alien fire, human ships ramming enemy vessels at impossible odds. These records are restricted, Zyron said. They were sealed by the Council. They were buried. The human voice corrected. We allowed it. The images continued. A younger galaxy. Younger empires. Humanity standing beside species long since extinct, fighting something vast and shapeless in the dark between stars. Zyron's breath caught. You fought this before, he said. Yes, the voice replied. And we lost. The next image showed Earth, scarred, burning, its atmosphere torn open. Billions dead. Fleets shattered. Zyron staggered back a step. That war should have erased you, he whispered. It almost did, the voice said. That was the point. The feed shifted again. Human engineers tearing apart their own technology. Cities dismantled. Fleets broken down and hidden. Entire systems erased from navigational charts. You crippled yourselves, Zyron said, disbelief flooding his voice. Why? Because survival was no longer about strength, the human voice said. It was about denial. The archives revealed the plan. Humanity fragmented itself on purpose, reduced its visible footprint, abandoned expansion, let its name rot into myth, let its enemies believe the threat was gone. All this time, Zyron said slowly, you weren't rebuilding an empire. No, the voice replied. We were building a lock. The shadow gate pulsed again, brighter now. It is not a weapon, the voice continued. It is a hinge. A way to move entire fleets without announcing ourselves. A way to hide mass where mass should not exist. Zyron understood. You hid yourselves inside your own infrastructure. Yes. Another human ship vanished in a controlled implosion, its sacrifice buying seconds as the darkness pressed closer. You knew this thing would return, Zyron said. We calculated the probability, the voice replied. It was never a question of if, only when. The archives shifted once more. Human children training in vacuum habitats. Not soldiers, engineers, mathematicians, psychologists. You raised generations for this, Zyron said, voice hollow. Yes. To die, Zyron demanded. To choose, the voice said firmly. A coalition officer whispered. They knew. They all knew. The censor chief said quietly. Every human alive must have known. Zyron felt something crack inside him. You condemned yourselves, he said. Why not warn the galaxy earlier? Why not unite everyone? The human voice fell silent for several seconds. When it returned, it was heavy with something close to regret. Because unity fails under comfort, it said. And fear without proof breeds panic, not preparation. The darkness surged again, slamming into the containment line. 3 human ships disappeared at once. The line is weakening, the censor chief cried. The shadow gate flared violently, energy climbing toward catastrophic levels. What happens if it fully opens? Zyron demanded. The human voice answered carefully. Then everything we hid comes out, it said. And nothing remains hidden again. That includes Earth, Zyron said. Yes. Zyron's eyes widened. You're exposing your homeworld. Yes. You're making yourselves a target, he said. We already are, the voice replied. The coalition bridge shook as space-time buckled. The darkness adapted again, flowing around void weapons faster now. It's learning, the censor chief said. Your methods won't hold much longer. The human fleet tightened further, compressing inward. Human ships burned out engines and collapsed themselves to reinforce failing anchors. Zyron watched in horror. You're running out of ships, he said. Yes. And still you hold, Zyron whispered. Yes. The shadow gate's internal structure became visible now, layer upon layer of nested space, each holding dormant signatures. Those are, Zyron began. Reserve fleets, the human voice finished. Civilian evacuation arcs. Planetary shields. Everything we kept hidden. The realization hit him like a blade. You're about to burn all of it, Zyron said. Yes. For us, he asked. For time, the voice replied. Time for the galaxy to see. Another surge rocked the battlefield. The containment line buckled. Human ships vanished in clusters now. Commander, the censor chief shouted. The line will fail in minutes. Zyron stared at the data, then at the human flagship. What happens when it breaks? He asked quietly. The answer came without hesitation. Then the galaxy becomes visible, the human voice said. And it will choose the densest target. Zyron understood immediately. You, he said. Yes. And after you're gone? Zyron asked. A pause. Then it will look again, the voice said. And you will be next. Silence swallowed the bridge. Humanity was not fighting to win. Humanity was fighting to delay extinction. Zyron straightened slowly, his posture changing. You never wanted thanks, he said. No, the voice agreed. You never wanted power. No. You wanted us to be ready, Zyron said. Yes. The shadow gate began to overload, energy bleeding into real space. Alarm screamed across both fleets. This is it, the sensor chief whispered. They're triggering full release. Zyron opened a fleet-wide channel. All coalition units, he said, voice steady despite the chaos. Redirect fire outward. Follow human targeting solutions. Protect the line. Officers froze. You're ordering us to fight with them? Someone shouted. Zyron did not hesitate. I am ordering you to finally earn the time they bought us. The human voice returned, softer now. Good, it said. The shadow gate roared open wider than ever before. And Earth's hidden strength began to pour into the light. The shadow gate tore fully open. Not like a door. Like a dam giving way. Reality around it buckled, layers of folded space peeling back to reveal what humanity had hidden for centuries. Not a single fleet. Not a final weapon. An entire infrastructure of war and survival. Human ships poured out in controlled waves. Not chaotic, not desperate. Each arrival snapped into pre-calculated positions as if the battlefield had been rehearsed 1,000 times before it ever existed. High Commander Zyron could only stare. These aren't reinforcements, the sensor chief whispered. They're ecosystems. Zyron saw it too. Hospital ships are larger than cities. Mobile fabrication worlds unfolding from compact frames. Massive shield arrays locking into orbit around nothing, preparing to protect regions that did not yet exist. Humanity had not built a fleet. Humanity had built a continuation plan. The darkness reacted immediately. The extragalactic entities surged, no longer testing the line, but attacking it. Regions of space collapsed entirely as it forced probability into single, brutal outcomes. Stars dimmed. Physics screamed. Human ships at the front vanished by the dozens. But the line did not break. Human vessels replaced losses instantly, flowing forward from the shadow gate, as if loss itself had been accounted for. Not emotionally. Logistically. They expected this, Zyron said, horror and awe mixing in his voice. Yes, the human commander replied. The voice no longer sounded distant. It sounded close. Present. This phase always arrives. The coalition fleet opened fire as one. This time, the human fleet did not stop them. Human targeting data flooded coalition systems, overriding outdated doctrine and inefficient patterns. Weapons that had once been designed to win short wars were repurposed to hold space. Coalition ships that should have died survived seconds longer. Then minutes. Those minutes mattered. Commander, the weapons officer shouted. Our losses are lower than projected. Zyron laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. Because we're finally not fighting alone. The darkness slammed into the reinforced line again. Entire sectors vanished, cleanly removed from existence. Coalition crews screamed as ships near those zones experienced sudden causal shear. Some crews died without ever knowing why. Human ships moved into those regions. Not to attack, to anchor. They burned out reactors, collapsed themselves into space-time fractures, and forced reality to stabilize around their deaths. Human lives traded for structural integrity. They're dying on purpose, someone whispered. Yes, Zyron said hoarsely. And they planned for it. The human voice returned, layered now, multiple commanders speaking in sequence, handing off authority seamlessly. Phase 6 engaged. Containment failure expected. Civilian arcs holding. Acceptable loss thresholds confirmed. Acceptable. The word made Zyron's chest ache. You classify lives as thresholds? He demanded. Yes, the human replied. So we do not hesitate when hesitation kills more. The darkness adapted again. It shifted its approach, bypassing the forward line and striking deeper, aiming not at fleets, but at meaning. At densely populated systems. At symbols, human ships intercepted instantly, redirecting attacks toward themselves. They're pulling it away from population centers, the sensor chief said. It's chasing them. Yes, the human commander said. It recognizes us now. A massive surge rippled across the battlefield. For the first time, the extragalactic entity manifested something like intent. A directed collapse aimed straight at the Shadow Gate. If that hits the gate, Zyron began. It won't, the human said. A new formation was activated. From the Shadow Gate emerged ships unlike any before. Vast, unfinished-looking constructs covered in exposed frameworks and glowing internal fields. What are those? Zyron asked. The answer came quietly. Graves. The ships accelerated directly into the incoming collapse. They detonated, not explosively, but existentially. Their mass inverted, forcing the collapse to consume them instead of passing through. The darkness recoiled. Coalition sensors overloaded as physics reasserted itself violently. Space snapped back into shape. Zyron staggered, barely catching himself. They just erased themselves from causality, he whispered. Yes, the human voice replied. That buys us time. How much? Zyron asked. The human paused. Enough, it said. If you use it. Zyron did not hesitate this time. All coalition fleets, he ordered, voice iron hard, adopt human defensive doctrine. Protect evacuation corridors. Prioritize time over territory. No one argued. They had seen what humanity paid for time. The battle spread across the system now. Human ships and coalition vessels fought side by side, forming layered defenses that bent, flexed, and sacrificed as needed. For the first time, the darkness slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. Commander, the sensor chief said, almost disbelieving, we're forcing it to react. Yes, the human commander said. And reaction is costly for it. Zyron watched human ships break apart, one after another, each loss deliberate, each death purposeful. You could have ruled us, he said softly. With this power. No, the human replied. Power invites dependency. Dependency invites collapse. Another surge struck the line. This one broke through. A rift opened behind coalition lines, directly toward a populated trade route. Zyron felt his heart stop. We can't intercept in time, someone shouted. A human ship broke formation instantly. It was smaller than most. Scarred. Old. It burned every remaining engine reserve and slammed itself into the rift. The ship vanished. The rift collapsed. Silence followed. The human voice returned, quieter now. That captain volunteered, it said. They always do. Zyron closed his eyes. How do you keep fighting like this? He asked. The answer was not dramatic. Because we remember what happens if we stop. The Shadow Gate began to dim. Commander, the sensor chief said, alarmed. The gate's output is dropping. Yes, the human replied. We are nearing the end of what we prepared. The darkness surged again, sensing weakness. Human losses spiked. Coalition losses followed. The line bent dangerously. Zyron realized something terrible. You never meant to survive this, he said. The human voice did not deny it. We meant for you to. The Shadow Gate flickered. Phase 7 is approaching, a human voice announced. Earth authorization required. Zyron's eyes widened. Earth, he repeated. Yes, the human commander said. The last anchor. You're bringing the enemy to your home, Zyron said. Yes. That will make Earth a target, he said. It always was, the human replied. The Shadow Gate flared one final time, its structure reshaping, no longer a transit system, but a directional funnel. The battlefield began to shift. Stars warped. Vectors changed. The darkness followed. Commander, the sensor chief whispered. The engagement vector is moving towards Sol. Zyron looked at the human fleet, what remained of it. You're going to make your stand at home, he said. Yes, the human commander replied. And if Earth falls? Zyron asked. A pause. Then the galaxy will remember why we stood in front first. The Shadow Gate began to collapse inward, burning itself out. Human ships surged toward the new vector, forming one last defensive arc. Zyron straightened. All coalition forces, he said, voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. We follow them. A stunned silence followed. Then confirmations. One by one. The human voice returned, carrying something new. Respect. Then do not fall behind, it said. The stars stretched. The battlefield moved. and the war for the galaxy shifted toward the one place humanity had never abandoned. Earth. Sol did not welcome them with beauty. It welcomed them with silence. The stars stretched and snapped back into place as the battlefield reassembled itself around a single yellow sun. Space stabilized violently, like a wound cauterized too quickly. Sensors screamed, then settled. Navigation returned. Clean, sharp, terrifyingly precise. High Commander Zyron stared at the system map. Earth was there. Blue. Whole. Unburned. And surrounded by nothing. No fleets, a coalition officer whispered. No orbital defenses. No stations. Zyron felt a dread coil in his chest. That's impossible. The human voice answered, calm despite the devastation behind it. Correct, it said. You are not seeing everything. The darkness arrived moments later. It did not burst into the system. It slid in, folding itself through warped vectors opened by the Shadow Gate's final burn. The entity reformed slowly, as if testing the space around Sol. Stars dimmed near it. Probability thinned. Coalition crews froze as their instruments began reporting contradictions again. Distances fluctuated. Timestamps disagreed with themselves. It's stabilizing, the sensor chief said, adapting to local physics. That means it's preparing to feed, Zyron said grimly. The human fleet, what remained of it, moved into position between Earth and the darkness. They formed no neat line now. Too many ships were gone. Too many holes. Human commanders did not correct the gaps. They widened them. Why are they opening lanes? A coalition captain demanded. The answer came before Zyron could speak. So it follows us, the human commander said. Not the planet. The darkness reacted instantly. It surged toward the human ships, bypassing Earth entirely. Regions of space collapsed where human vessels clustered, drawn to them like gravity wells made of meaning. Zyron understood. It recognizes you as the primary threat, he said. Yes, the human replied. And that is intentional. A coalition officer whispered. They're making themselves irresistible. Earth remained silent. Too silent. Where are Earth's defenses? Zyron demanded. Why is your homeworld unprotected? The human voice did not answer immediately. Then, because Earth is not a sanctuary, it said. It is an anchor. The planet shifted. Not physically, conceptually. Coalition sensors suddenly re-evaluated Earth's mass. Then re-evaluated again. Then failed outright. What just happened? The sensor chief shouted. Earth has altered its signature, another officer said. It's heavier. Not in mass, in influence. The darkness paused. For the first time since its arrival, it hesitated. Earth's surface began to change. The oceans did not boil. Continents did not split. Instead, faint geometric patterns lit up across the planet. Vast, slow-moving lines traced across land and sea alike. They're planetary-scale systems, Zyron breathed. You turned your world into a weapon. No, the human replied. We turned it into a decision. Coalition ships detected structures rising from beneath Earth's crust. Ancient frameworks that had been buried deep, disguised as natural tectonics. Massive arrays locked into orbit without launching. They unfolded from the planet itself. Earth had never been undefended. I was asleep. The darkness surged again, furious now. Human ships died in waves as they drew it closer, each sacrifice guiding its path. Coalition vessels followed human targeting data, firing not to destroy, but to shape. Commander, the weapons officer shouted. Our weapons are actually affecting it. Yes, Zyron said. Because it's focused. A human ship shattered near the front, its reactor collapsing inward to form a temporary gravity sink. The darkness flowed around it, slowed for precious seconds. Earth is charging something, the sensor chief said. Energy levels are rising across the planet's grid. What happens when it's fully charged? Zyron asked. The human voice answered quietly. Then Earth becomes visible in a way it never has before. The darkness noticed. It changed course. Not toward the human fleet. Toward Earth. Alarms exploded across the bridge. It's ignoring you, a coalition officer screamed. It's going for the planet. Human ships surged desperately, throwing themselves into its path. Coalition vessels followed without orders, ramming, firing, dying. Still the darkness pushed through. It was learned, Zyron said in horror. It learned that Earth matters more. Yes, the human replied. Which is why this is the end of hiding. Earth's systems reached full power. The planet pulsed. Space around Sol stabilized unnaturally, as if nailed in place. The darkness slowed, its advance stuttering for the first time. "What did you do?" Xiron demanded. "We bound Earth to local reality," the human said. "It can no longer be bypassed." The darkness recoiled, then attacked with everything it had. Entire regions of space collapsed as it forced probability into a single brutal outcome. The human fleet was torn apart in seconds. Coalition ships vanished alongside them. Xiron watched in helpless fury. "You're losing the line," he shouted. "Yes," the human voice said. "Now watch what Earth does." The planet spoke. Not with sound, with gravity. A massive pulse rippled outward from Earth, a wave of stabilized reality that slammed into the darkness. Space snapped back into coherence where the wave passed. The entity shuddered, its form destabilizing. Coalition sensors lit up with impossible readings. "It's struggling," the sensor chief said. "Earth is forcing it to exist on our terms." The human voice carried something like pride. "Earth is not a fortress," it said. "It is a boundary." The darkness struck back. A focused collapse tore toward Earth's atmosphere. Human ships moved without hesitation. Every remaining vessel accelerated into the incoming strike. They did not fire. They did not maneuver. They simply went. One by one, human ships vanished in controlled annihilations, absorbing the collapse piece by piece. Their deaths formed a lattice of sacrifice that slowed the strike enough for Earth's systems to engage again. Xiron felt his vision blur. "They're dying to save their home," he whispered. "No," the human voice corrected gently. "They're dying to save yours." The final human flagship, the scarred one that had spoken since the beginning, drifted closer to Earth. Its hull was breaking apart. "Human commander," Xiron said urgently, "withdraw. You've done enough." The response came calm and absolute. "This is the last threshold." Earth's systems flared one final time. A containment field snapped into place around the darkness, not trapping it, but pinning it, forcing it to interact with reality at every point. The darkness convulsed. It did not die. It burned. Not consumed, contained, locked into a slow decay that would take centuries to complete. The cost was immediate. The last human ships vanished. Silence fell over Sol. Earth remained. The darkness was held. Coalition ships drifted, stunned, broken, alive. Xiron stared at the tactical display. No human fleet remained. Only Earth. He opened a channel, his voice shaking. "Human command," he said. "Do you read?" Static. Then, faintly, a reply. "This is Earth." The voice was different now. Deeper. Broader. "We are here." Xiron closed his eyes. "You saved the galaxy," he said. "No," Earth replied. "We delayed its end." "And the cost?" Xiron asked. A pause. "Everything we prepared to lose." Earth's glow dimmed slightly as systems powered down. "The boundary will hold," the voice continued. "But it will weaken." Xiron swallowed. "What happens when it fails?" Earth answered with quiet certainty. "Then the galaxy must stand where we once stood." Silence followed. The stars around Sol burned steady again. Earth turned slowly beneath them, scarred, awake, and no longer hidden. And the galaxy understood something it never had before. Humanity had not survived by conquering. Humanity had survived by choosing where to make its last stand. The galaxy did not cheer. There were no victory signals, no triumphal broadcasts, no banners raised across the stars. When the darkness was pinned and Earth's glow finally dimmed, what followed was something far rarer. Silence. High Commander Xiron floated on the shattered bridge of his flagship, watching Sol stabilize on the tactical display. The containment boundary around the extragalactic entity held, strained, imperfect, but real. The monster did not vanish. It did not flee. It waited, just as humanity once had. "All ships," Xiron said quietly, opening a system-wide channel. "Status check." Responses trickled in, fewer than he expected. Entire fleets were gone. Species that had never known loss at this scale now counted their dead in numbers too large to process. "We're alive," one captain said, voice hollow. "Engines damaged, but functional. Crew casualties severe." Xiron closed the channel. Then he opened another. "Earth," he said. "Do you hear me?" The reply came instantly, steady and calm. "We hear you." The voice was not a single human. It carried layers, commanders, analysts, civilians. An entire world speaking as one. "The boundary is holding," Xiron said. For now. Yes, Earth replied. Our models agree. A pause followed. How long? Zyron asked. Another pause. Longer. Decades, Earth said. Perhaps a century. Perhaps less. Zyron felt the weight of that answer settle across his shoulders. And after that, Earth said, the outcome depends on what you choose to become. Zyron looked out at the debris field where the human fleet had been. There is no human fleet left, he said. No, Earth agreed. There isn't. You sacrificed everything, Zyron said. Your ships, your soldiers, your secrecy. Yes. For a galaxy that erased you, he said. Yes. Zyron straightened. Then we owe you more than memory, he said. You owe us continuity, Earth replied. Memory fades. Continuity endures. Across the galaxy, the truth spread faster than panic ever had. Archived footage of the Shadow Gate. Sensor logs of human ships holding collapsing reality together. Recordings of Earth stabilizing physics itself at the cost of an entire hidden civilization's strength. The myths shattered. Humans were not reckless primitives. Not short-lived aggressors. Not a failed experiment. They were a failsafe. In council chambers that had once mocked humanity's absence, silence fell as representatives reviewed the data. Entire doctrines collapsed overnight. Expansion policies were frozen. Borders redrawn not around power, but around responsibility. One counselor finally spoke. We were protected, they said, voice breaking. And we never knew. Another answered quietly. No, we were carried. At Seoul, coalition engineers and scientists gathered around Earth's boundary systems, staring at technology they barely understood. These structures, one said, awed. They're not just machines. They're philosophies. Earth answered them directly. They are commitments, it said. Every component exists to answer one question. Which is? Zyron asked. What must be sacrificed so others may continue? The question hung in the void. Coalition leaders argued for days. Some demanded Earth share its technology immediately. Others feared dependence. Some wanted to rebuild human fleets under coalition banners. Earth refused all of it. We will not become your shield again, it said. And we will not become your crown. Then what do you want? Zyron asked. The answer was simple. Prepare. Preparation began immediately. Human archives, carefully filtered, were released. Not weapon schematics. Not Shadow Gate blueprints. Doctrine. How to fight wars that last longer than lifetimes. How to design systems that assume failure. How to train populations to understand sacrifice without worshipping it. The galaxy struggled. Many species resisted. Some called humanity cruel. Others called them inhuman. Earth accepted all of it without comment. Judgment is a luxury, it said. Time is not. Years passed. The boundary weakened slowly, predictably. The darkness tested it again and again, probing for cracks. Each time, the galaxy responded, clumsily at first, then better. Coalition fleets began rotating containment duty, not at Earth's request, but because they understood. Humanity had stood alone, so no one else had to. Now no one would stand alone again. Zyron watched a new generation of officers trained beside human instructors, few in number now, their population reduced, their world scarred. You could have left, Zyron said once, standing with a human commander overlooking Earth's orbit. After everything you gave, you could have retreated inward. Guess yourselves. The human commanders shook their head. That's not who we are, they said. If we hide now, then none of it meant anything. Zyron nodded slowly. The galaxy changed. Empires shrank. Trade slowed. Expansion was replaced with fortification, not walls, but understanding. Worlds learned to evacuate instead of resist blindly. Fleets trained to delay, not dominate. Time became currency. And Earth remained. Scarred. Awake. Watching the boundary with tireless attention. On the anniversary of the Shadow Gate's collapse, Zyron stood before the rebuilt council chamber. He did not wear medals. None of them felt appropriate. We believed survival meant power, he said to the assembled galaxy. Humanity showed us survival means endurance. He paused. They did not ask for worship. They did not ask for rules. He looked toward the distant blue star on the display. They asked us to remember how to stand. The final transmission from Earth came quietly, broadcast across all known space. The boundary will fail one day, it said. Not because it is weak, but because everything ends. A pause. When that day comes, Do not look for us to step forward first. Another pause. Step forward together. The message ended. Earth turned slowly beneath its clouds, no longer hidden, no longer alone. And across the galaxy, civilizations prepared, not for conquest, but for the moment when the dark would test them again. This time, humanity would not stand in front. This time, the galaxy would stand where humanity once did. And when the darkness looked out across the stars, it would no longer see isolated lights. It would see a line.